All right, we are back here on the podcast covering season one of The Mandalorian. We were revisiting the season as we go through the summer here on Labor Day, covering episode 7, The Reckoning, one of our favorite episodes of the season so far. I'm your host, Mike Phillips. With me, as always, the man whose voice here on narration every single week, Pete Consadori is here. Pete, how are you?
Doing well. Happy Labor Day. Um, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this one. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorites out of the season so far for sure.
Absolutely here. Unfortunately, Nick Ferreira could not be with us today. He is stuck right now trying to come up with a backup plan for Team Mando to get out of their situation at Chapter 7. They were in a mess at the end of the episode.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. It really leaves you on a cliffhanger, which I enjoy a lot.
Yeah, absolutely here. And people want to subscribe to us in the Sky, guys. Do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys, your podcast platform. Full episodes there. And we're almost done revisiting season one of The Mandalorian. We're going to do season 2 in January, but we have a fun fall planned, even though there's no new live action shows. Make sure you're subscribed.
There's a ton of stuff coming down the pipeline. Make sure you're subscribed. It's totally free. Don't have to pay anything. Helps us out. Helps you guys out to get all this content. If you like and if you enjoy it, just make sure you're following everywhere.
Yep, you can also check us out on social media at Sky Guys Podcasts. All your favorite podcasts, like on your favorite social media platforms. You can also check out and email us, skyguyspod@gmail.com if you are so inclined. And our social media comment of the week. This is from last week's podcast, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. We talked about the whole Gina Carano Cara Dune situation, whether she'll come back now that the lawsuit's been settled. And Queen Raider Slayer pretty adamant on TikTok saying she will never be in Star Wars again with a crying, laughing emoji. But we'll see. Time will tell, Pete.
Yeah, I mean it's a tricky situation.
Also trippy.
Also trippy. I'm not too sure. I'm not part of that decision making process, obviously, and um, I liked the character. I'm not gonna say I didn't. What happens off screen is what happens off screen, so I won't get too much into it. However, it's up to Disney if they want and Gina Carano if they want to make that partnership again and go into contract talks again.
Yeah, and remember, there was a whole situation where it looked like Gina Carano was getting her own show out of this before all this happened. So
The character. Look, I think the character is very popular after season one, and like I said, I like the character. I don't think the character was bad, so I don't think it's any testament to the writing of the character and how she played it. It was the off screen stuff that her and Disney kind of butted heads on.
yeah, real world issues are gonna let them figure it out. We're not gonna weigh in on this. We will also just point out that like the Sid Scrap Rangers New Republic was widely speculated to be the vehicle for Gina Carano getting her own show.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the rumor.
Yeah, that was the rumor. We'll see what happens if they bring her back in some form in the future. Let's get to our Star Wars news here. Not a ton going on here, but Tony Gilroy is making the rounds, and a couple of interesting notes here, Pete. Number one, he told Janice Metz, who was the director of the growing arc in season 2, quote unquote, not to watch any of the other Star Wars shows on Disney Plus, was given the quote unquote wrong idea of how to direct that arc. So, Pete, any thoughts on the Tony Gilroy recommendation here?
The recommendation was to go in blind, like don't be swayed by anything. I mean, look, I it worked, right? I mean, there's probably cases where it doesn't work and it actually turns out bad. So in this case, it worked. I think not being swayed by other arcs and the way things have been directed is definitely a strategy and helped in this situation. But I won't say that it's a go-to every single time. Um, Andor, I think, is a very special show in Disney Star Wars, and I don't know if it'll ever be recreated when it comes to the amount of time, effort, writing. I think that it's a very special show that a lot of things worked for. And I don't know if necessarily that's the strategy moving forward for all of Gilroy's projects, but if it works, it works.
Yeah, I think the way I would look at it is like I feel like the critical approach would say, oh, like Gilroy thinks these shows suck, which is why he told the guys not to watch it. But I think the argument here is like the tone on the other shows can be more family friendly, kind of, goofier at points. Like this is not the arc you want to be doing goofy family friendly on. So I get the argument there.
Yeah, you take the subject matter and you direct it in a way that the subject matter is supposed to be directed. And I think it, like I said, I think it worked in this instance, and I think it translates in how good those episodes are.
Absolutely. Here, more from Tony Gilroy here. He said in an interview with Golder, he said that Disney can do quote unquote whatever they want with Cassian's child in the future. So the big like Easter egg hanging over the show, the end, the Cassian Andor child that Bix has, and Gilroy says specifically, "quote Let's be really honest. It doesn't hurt me when I can tell Bob Iger there's a baby. He can name it, he can sex it, they can do whatever they want with it." So he says if Bob Iger wants to do a like a like say Resistance era show where Cassian Andor's son is part of the Resistance, go for it.
I mean, I say why not at this point? It's I think Gilroy is very, very clear that this was his show, and that after it he doesn't know what he's doing. I don't think anything's confirmed, even though he's probably widely sought out by Star Wars after this as well again. But I mean, it's the professionalism, right? He created a character, and the character is owned by Disney, right? So Disney can do whatever they want with that character, and I think professionally, Gilroy was like, yeah, it's their product. They can do what they want with it.
Yep, that is exactly the case here. The final Gilroy note here, he says in that same interview that they could not do 5 seasons of Andor, which is the original plan for the show, because Diego Luna will be quote unquote ancient by the end of the series, which that makes sense considering how long it took to make 2 seasons of Andor. Like, and Diego Luna is supposed to be playing a character who's like younger, Diego Luna was younger when the character originated, so like it'd be really hard to sell him at that same age when he's, like 10 years down the line.
Yeah, I mean, the Stranger Things, I think, is having that issue where it's hard to sell if these kids are like in high school, but they're all like almost 30, the actors or something, right? But there's something to be said about making sure that the actors can look the part still if it's only like a 4-year gap. Meanwhile, they've aged 10 years. It's a little hard. Um, kind of rough though. Calling him ancient, be ancient if he had to do 5 seasons.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like he was 35 when they did Rogue One, and he's 45 now, which is after 2 seasons of production here. Add three down the road, he's in his 50s by the time the show ends.
Listen, man, I mean, it is what it is. I think, look, I don't think it hurt them. I think doing 2 seasons was perfect. I was very concerned in the beginning for sure that they were going to have to rush through things. Would I have liked to have a lot more of it? 100%. I think you could have done seasons out of it and given us a lot more, but I still think it was very good. So I think it still worked to their advantage, and I don't think anyone's suffering from them having to pivot to a 2 season show versus a five.
Yep. And our last note here is Andor related as well. It's that Simon Kinberg, who is currently developing his own Star Wars film show that Nick does not think will ever see the light of day. He said he's super inspired by what Tony Gilroy did to make Andor. So hopefully the Andor effect like sort of inspires these current Star Wars filmmakers to do extraordinary things.
I mean, I said it last week. I said that Andor should be the mark that every Star Wars show should be striving for. Not necessarily be exactly the same, but be the quality it was. So if people are going to take inspiration from how the show was made and how it was written, I would say go for it. This is the template that they should be using moving forward.
Yep, and that's it for the news this week here. We'll go to episode 7, The Mandalorian, chapter 7, The Reckoning, directed by Deborah Chow. This episode, notably, Pete, it comes out on, it's even coming out on Fridays for a while in this one. They bumped up the release 2 days to December 18th, 2019. This came out on a Wednesday and came out 2 days before the Rise of Skywalker. So we all know plot wise that the reason why they did this, well, I think at the time the argument was, hey, we don't want to oversaturate the market, and have our new episode of the show come out the same day as the movie. This was entirely about we're controversially adding force healing to the Rise of Skywalker, so we have to show Grogu doing it so the audience is at least aware this is a possibility.
When does he force heal?
He heals Great Karga.
Right. Sorry. Wow. That was right over my head. Yes. So yeah, it's definitely not the oversaturation, right? 2 days versus the day of is the same thing in my opinion. It's not like it was 3 month difference; it's a 2 day difference. But yeah, we I think we discussed this too, or if I wasn't on the show back in season one, I heard you discuss how this was definitely pulled up to show force healing is a thing. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, it's just insane that we moved the episode up 2 days because we were worried the audience would not like understand if force healing actually existed.
Right. But you know what though? I don't even know if like I think I watched it and also went into the theaters and said, I didn't think I said like, oh, good thing I watched Mando because now force healing's a thing. Like I don't think it ever crossed my mind that it had to happen first in Mando or whatever. But it is what it is at that point. I don't really. I don't think it mattered too much, but I understand where they came from if they wanted to bump it up.
All right, so let's get into this episode here, The Reckoning, which is the penultimate episode of season one. So, Pete, general thoughts on this episode?
I think it's great. I think that this is probably one of the best episodes of season one. Um, Next episode as well. It's pretty much, episode seven, episode eight, people that haven't seen it is pretty much one episode in my opinion, because you get left off with a really big cliffhanger. So I think it's great. I think it pushes the story along. I think everything that the writing does for this show, for this episode is good, except for one thing. And remind me about that one thing with the writing, Mike, because I think it's a good point. Um, yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of it. A lot of good action, a lot of good storytelling, and there's some tears too for some from big fans of a certain character. So it was all around a great episode.
It was here, and I did also note here this is the sort of like the thing that we start doing in Mandalorian. It's like, oh, like we're gonna bring together our friends to help do the big mission at the end of the season, where we bring back Cara Dune, we bring back Kuiil for this episode to be on Team Mando for this one here. But the big headline to me is that we get the villain of the show in this episode introduced in Moff Gideon, where like we've been led to believe, oh, the client's the bad guy, like he's like our big bad, and then he just gets sniped out from under us, like in the span of like like 5 minutes at the end of the episode. And you're like, oh shit, this guy is really something to deal with.
I don't know how you felt about the original client, but I never thought when I watched Mando that he was the big bad, right? He always just had that persona of like, I'm working for someone else, even though he didn't like blatantly say it. But the introduction of Moff Gideon obviously is huge in this episode, and I think in season one and two, he's a great villain.
Yeah, so we're not going to comment on season three at this point.
No, no.
All right, so anything you want to start this episode discussion with?
Um, I think Mando's plan is a good start. I mean, that's pretty much the whole episode, but I think the plan was genius. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, the Mando plan basically they're set up here is like for everybody who hasn't watched the episode in a while, it's like Grief Karga gets calls him and says, "Hey, like things have been getting locked down here. The client's pissed that you took the kid and he's making my life tough here. Bring the kid back. We'll work it together as bait and just you take the client out and then we sort of get what we all get what we want. And I'll cancel the contracts on your head basically." So his idea is, like I don't trust Greek Karga. Greek Karga screwed me over multiple times. So I'm going to go get all my buddies and we're going to go make a team here and have my own squad, which works out because we see Greek Karga doesn't be 100 bounty hunters.
Right, right. I mean, and it comes out too that Grief Karga wanted to kill everyone and take the child anyway. So, I mean, Mando was spot on with his plan to get Cara Dune and how do you say it?
Kuiil.
Kuiil?
Yeah, Kuiil.
Kuiil. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a good season finale episode. I'm calling it that because I consider seven and eight one big episode.
Yeah, it is a great big episode here. And the Kuiil return is interesting because like Cara Dune is easy. He goes like, "Hey, you want a job? Like my ship, it can't be tracked. We established in chapter six." Like, okay. And then Kuiil, he goes there. We find out not only has Kuiil like repaired IG-11 from the pilot and turned him into basically the butler of his house and said like I'm like I'll go with you not to take payment, but because like I feel it's my duty to protect this child. So I think like the Kuiil return is interesting.
Very interesting, and it's super important for later in the episode.
Yeah, I did love that scenario here, and I do think a couple of things to point out here. We get to see the dark side of Grogu's like force powers when he's force choking Cara Dune early on because he thinks that she's trying to hurt Mando.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was definitely fight or flight for Grogu. Grogu, I think, sees Mando as his like father at this point, right? I mean, this is something that is kind of teased about throughout the season, and even us were talking about how bad of a father he is, just leaving him in the ship. But he sees Cara Dune as someone that's like threatening and trying to hurt Mando, and he goes to really hurt her, and it like you said, uncontrolled power and the darkness or the dark side of having that power comes out in Grogu in there.
Yeah, and we do see earlier episode too, like when he and Mando go back to Sofran, and we see that Grogu's like kind of like trying to do the Mando swagger as he's walking. Like you see, like oh, like this kid's like this is my new dad. Like I'm gonna be with him forever.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you're starting to get that like mimicking and mirroring. So, like I said, I mean, it's the writings on the wall the whole season. It's going to turn out to be that way for season 2 as well.
Yeah, and what'd you think about the sequence we got with Kuiil repairing IG-11 like that? I think that was a bit of levity we need in the episode.
Yeah, it definitely was. I felt like they could use that time for a little bit more action stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. You're seeing the backstory of it, but like it could have been a very easy, hey, I found him after all the stuff you did. He was pretty much dead. I reprogrammed him. Now he's not going to hurt no one. And I think that would have been fine too. And you could have used those 3 minutes for something else. But again, I rather that than a 20-minute flashback like we have in Book of Boba Fett. So I was totally fine with it.
Yeah, I think I was good here. And we see the rendezvous, and then the whole okay, we're gonna go camp out tonight. You're gonna go to town. Here we go. Like then we'll go to town the next day. And then I thought the sequence with the attack from like whatever, like it feels like the same sort of creatures you see in Empire Strikes Back, and the creature's belly are attacking them at night. They kill a bounty hunter, a couple of blurgs, and like grievously wound Grief Karga. This is, I think, a cool action sequence.
Yeah, and this is the scene that I had totally forgot about where Grogu, well, I
Well,
don't think
we can say he's Grogu. We know.
right. I mean, I don't think he has a name yet. But where the child helps heal Grief Karga, which eventually makes Grief say, like, I'm not gonna go with my original plan. Have to say, I don't know if it's just new modern media, but like all these like at night scenes are just so dark. Like I can't see it on the screen unless I like turn off all the lights or like turn up the brightness. And I don't know if that's just a modern cinema thing, if that's just a artistic thing, but I feel like with a lot of shows nowadays, if it's like a dark scene or a night scene, it's like very hard to see. Um, Maybe it's just the type of TVs now because they're the OLEDs and stuff like they have like the deepest, darkest blacks on the
Yep.
screen, so like it makes it darker. Could be the case too. But yeah, it was a cool scene. I think that the night element with the shooting, the blasters made the cool like flashes so you can kind of see the creatures sometimes and not. I think that it added to the cinematography of it. It was a cool scene. I liked it.
Yeah, I like it too. I did feel like the lighting, you're right. I feel like they rely basically on the fire as their main source of light, and then just use the special effects kind of add illumination later on. But like it was pretty dark.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're trying to go for like this is what they were seeing. It's that dark, very artistic kind of approach to it versus a cinema viewership approach to it. And again, like I said, it might be the technology of the TVs now, where like the color black on a lot of TVs now are like super super dark because the quality of the TVs have gotten so much better. So it could also be the possibility too.
Yeah, we get this is where you mentioned Grief Karga gets like hurt. Grogu, like Cara Dune tries to heal with a med pack, and basically he's gonna die. And then Grogu heals it, and then this leads to a big change of heart for Grief Karga, who you mentioned at the top. His plan basically is okay. I'm gonna lure Mando here. I'm gonna kill Mando, bring the kid back to the client, and just get these guys off Nevarro. That's his whole thing. He then decides, okay, like I can't, screw this kid over. He saved my life. He turns around, shoots his two guys. May I point out one thing that I think is a little short-sighted in his thinking here? When and we've had this point out throughout the episode where Grief Karga's lines, oh, there's only four stormtroopers we're dealing with. And he later tells Cara Dune when she sees the whole town is swarmed, like, there's four guarding the guy. There's more in town. And didn't feel like I needed to share information. When he knows what he's dealing with, why is he does not tell the two guys with, hey, we're changing the plan. We're going to work together. Have two extra guns by his side.
If I were to overthink it, I would think that because they're in the guild, they would go against Grief and try to take the bounty because they want the money. That's where I think maybe that's why he said I can't trust them. Like they have to just die. Because they're just gonna kill me because it's 2v1 and they'll try to kill Mando and Cara Dune and steal the child for their own profit. So that's kind of where I'm thinking. Again, super over analytical on that. But this is one of my gripes. So this and the Cara Dune stuff is one of my gripes with the writing of this episode. It just seems very quick. And I understand that the change of heart was quick on Grief Karga's part, and I understand it, but the way he approached it was the lines he said was just like, yeah, I originally was going to do this, but like after last night, like I couldn't. So what are we doing now? It was like super quick, like matter of fact, and everyone was just okay with it. Instead of him like being sincere, maybe, and saying like, look, like you guys saved my life. I was going to do this, but I can't with a like maybe be a little bit more sincere, not matter of fact about it.
If
Maybe it could have made more impactful than just like a very quick, like, we're just changing the way the story works right now.
To me, it doesn't feel like Grief Karga as a guy is that touchy feely. So I feel like he would kind of just
No,
uh,
no, but I think you have to have a little bit of that for him to like not take a bounty that big when he's all about taking bounties, right? If he's not a touchy-feely guy, why would he care he got saved?
yeah.
So I feel like if you're going to do that, you do have to have a little bit of an element of that. Not so as a matter of fact. And I think that's just writing. I don't think that's him or the performance.
Yeah, so anyway, that happens here. The new plan they come up with, we talked about this a little bit. It's sort of like, okay, the idea is Mando is going to pretend that he was captured by Grief and Cara Dune, and he's all deal about Cara Dune. Got to cover your trooper tattoos because all the Imperials are in town. Then we're going to meet the client and just pretend to drop the baby off. And Mando's audible says, "We're just going to bring a closed pram and send Kuiil back to the ship with Grogu to try and protect him and just lock the ship down." So. Interesting choice here, though. I mean, point here that this is a very far away. So, like, I wonder here, like, could we have waited a little bit before we went to town and did this? Could we have given Kuiil a head start?
That was also my gripe with it. They 100% I feel like could have waited. I don't think Grief Karga ever said like we have an appointment at like 2 o'clock, right? Like it was never like I have to get there before he leaves. He's sitting there in town. Like he's not going anywhere. Um, so very, I mean, I understand why they do it because of the plot point that happens later in the episode, but like 100% could have just waited like 20 minutes, 10 minutes, and it would have been a totally different scene. Again, you need it for the plot point at the end.
Yeah, I get why in the show wise you have to do it that way because otherwise, what's like, it's not a fun story if oh he's already on the ship, it's done. But like here,
Yeah,
it's
and from a writing standpoint, I can understand them saying, you bring him to the ship, we're going to go. And they just go, right? Like, I don't think anyone's like, well, we have to wait to make sure he gets to the ship. Like, I think it's also still very organic.
yeah,
But yeah, they totally could have waited like 10 minutes and could have definitely changed the fate of Kuiil.
yeah. I mean, like even give him like an hour because
Not
like
even. He was like 2 steps away from the ship. You could have gave him 5 minutes. It would have been a totally different thing.
yeah, we're gonna say there's a lot of heartache too with the Quill situation.
Yeah, he gone.
He gone.
RIP.
Yeah. And we do get this meeting with the client here. And like, for as dumb as the client is in the meeting, I do still love the line reads that Werner Herzog gives. Like when
Oh yeah.
it's so fun. It's like when we got the flashback in the intro, sort of like such a big price for such a little package. And he's like, the line he says to Greek Cargo, oh, like we should have a libation to celebrate the end of our partnership or something like that. Like stuff like the delivery is fantastic for all his lines.
Well, this is the thing that I have about the writing.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how much it bothered me that Cara Dune kept saying to Grief, I thought there were only supposed to be 4 stormtroopers. And I feel like they were trying to be funny, but like this was not the scenes to be funny. Like the comedic relief was back when you were showing, like you said, Kuiil with the droid, right? Like we're now in the serious part of the episode, and she just kept saying, "Oh, 4 stormtroopers, huh?" It's like you're in the middle of getting shot, bro. Like, can you let it go? Let it go. Do what you have to do. And even Grief's like, I don't know what to tell you. I thought there was only going to be 4. There's like 80 of them. So I think the writing was like they couldn't figure out something else she could have said. Meanwhile, that the client is so articulate and the words he's using is so like impressive in the way he delivers it. And it's like Kara's just like, there's supposed to be 4. The whole scene. The whole scene.
Well, I mean, she's also in defense of that. Cara Dune is not like, I don't think Cara Dune's backstory is like she's going to like drama school. Like she's like basically
No, but even earlier, when like Mando was asking her for help, and she's like, "No," and all he said was "Imperial," and she's like, "Okay." Like it just seems very like they didn't have much to write for Cara, almost like they didn't have much to write for Mando, right? It was very just like you're there to do action, you're not there to talk, and it shows in those kinds of scenes, right? Like it shows how quickly like a dialogue can be done in those types of scenes when you just have like the same line repeated 3 times, 4 times in a 10-minute span.
yeah. a couple of my favorite lines from the client. One, I think the line stuck about Grief Karga is like, and he says it in the perfect dialogue. He's like, "Can I offer you a libation to start with the closing of our shared narrative?"
You have writing like that, and Cara Dune's got to keep saying four stormtroopers, four stormtroopers. Like, so yeah, it, it's probably done on purpose. I don't know artistically why. I can't make Star Wars shows, so like I'm the wrong person to be like they should have done it this way. It's just my humble opinion. It just like figure out a different line for her to say. That's it.
Yeah,
Just different line.
yeah. I also did love the thing that got me funny is like their whole bit. He's like, "Let's see the baby," and like Grief's like, "It's asleep," and he's
Yeah,
like,
no,
"Okay." It was funny. He's like, "It's okay." It's like, "We'll be quiet."
yeah, no, but that's good tension, right? That was great tension, and like if Moff Gideon doesn't call,
Yeah,
you know, and the client doesn't get up and is like, please do not find it rude that I need to take this phone call. It's like, oh my God, this guy's just like spitting fire right now when it comes to like lines, and all I got is like he's sleeping.
yeah,
The tension was building. It does a really good job at building the tension. I think the way that Grief Karga's character portrays it and like puts like the hand over, I'm like, oh, he's gonna get caught. Like the first time I watch him, like he's gonna get caught. They're gonna open the pram and everything's gonna go haywire. Everything does go haywire, but from a different angle.
yeah. Nagel, we were you're not expecting the first watch.
No, no,
Yeah, because you get this call. We get the hologram of Moff Gideon, played by Giancarlo Esposito, in his first appearance in the show, and he's like, "Did you get the package?" And he's like, "Yes, I had the bait. The child. The child is sleeping." And he's like, "You sure about that?" And then just has the Death Troopers just open fire on the whole base and just like blow them all to hell, which is like a whoa. Like, this is our bad guy. The first 7 episodes of the season, just gone in an instant.
oh yeah, and the what were they called? Shadow Troopers,
Death Troopers.
Death Troopers, the Death Troopers, and like Moff Gideon like reveal. Oh, chef's kiss. Like it was like that was like the perfect reveal. Like again, it took 7 episodes to get the big bad, but like it like gets you ready for season two, right? Because you have another episode of it, and we all know what happens if you watch the show. And you have all the season two to like really get into that character. So yeah, the reveal was really good.
Yeah, because the whole episode, even with Grief Karga, is like, oh, there's only 4 stormtroopers here. We saw in episode 3, basically take down the client's entire base by himself. He's like,
Right.
okay, with 2 people with him, he's got it. Then you see the Death Troopers, you see the transport with all the stormtroopers, you see Gideon land his TIE fighter in the middle of the streets and then pop out and just
With
sort of
like
like,
the foldable wings, like a
yep.
convertible TIE fighter. It was crazy.
Yeah, and he coming out here and just like sort of like making a statement about, oh, like I'm gonna have you think you're clever, but I'm gonna have what I want shortly, and you're gonna die. And you're like, oh shit, this guy means business.
Like, okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah, like fantastic like delivery for this character, and great like tension, like diffusing line from Gina Carano, like, who's that guy?
Yeah, again, the writing.
Yeah,
Fantastic. For
yeah,
Cara Dune.
yeah, fantastic writing there. I know Pete's so in love with Cara Dune's writing.
I like her as a character though. Like that's the other thing. Like I think she's a great character, but like let's call it what it is. It's almost like, Wrecker writing, right? Yeah, the Bad Batch record's the big like muscle and like the things he's saying is not like articulate. It's not, he's just there to be muscle. And I feel like that was supposed to be Cara Dune's character.
She's the brawn of the operation. 'Cause when I described the group, I was like making my notes here, like, okay, like Cara Dune's the muscle, Kuiil
100%.
Kuiil's the babysitter.
Yep.
Because he learned last week, like after like episode 5, I gotta stop taking Grogu into these firefight situations.
Right. Well, I mean that doesn't work now at the end of the episode because the two scooter riders, as I like to call them, even though they're on, speeders. But the scooter riders are kind of grab up Grogu there at the end.
Yeah, because the whole thing is Mando realizes, oh shit, I'm outgunned, and then he says, okay, Kuiil, new plan, like get on the ship, we're burned, get the hell off the planet, like get the kids somewhere safe. So we can't get there because the stormtroopers who are just hanging out by the gate or intercept the transition somehow. Get out there before Kuiil's bird can get there, and Keel's gone. Kuiil, R.I.P. Kuiil.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna bash on the interrupting transmission part because I know there's like technologies in Star Wars for that. Like they always say like keep comms off or whatever. So, but it was just very like convenient. It was like, oh, the two guys with the speeder bikes heard it, so they're gone. They're gonna go get him. So, but it look, they go get Grogu, and now like it sets up. That's literally how the episode ends. It sets up in episode 8 that you're like, oh my God, I want to watch this next episode. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, and this is the last episode of season one that airs, I think, before Christmas, if I remember correctly. I'm checking the air date here. Yeah, we wait 9 days from that to get the cliffhanger. Get December 27th. We go back to Friday for the last episode for some reason.
Almost 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because I think if they had kept it Wednesday, it would have been on Christmas, the finale. I don't think they wanted to do that.
Right. Right. No, that's not. I mean, well, wasn't there Andor on Christmas or something? No, what was on Christmas this past year?
Skeleton Crew Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
And New Year's Eve, right. I remember that. Now I remember because it was the family show. It wasn't Andor.
Yeah,
Yeah, crazy times we live in.
yeah, because we were joking about how you could just like open your presents, have some eggnog, and watch Skeleton Crew end the night.
Yeah, because that was like on the top of everyone's list. Even though Skeleton Crew was a good show. Don't think watching that was at the top of everyone's like to-do list on those days.
Yeah, I highly doubt it here. I'm gonna check like real quick, like which episode of Skeleton Crew was the Christmas Eve episode because that got me very interested all of a sudden. Because I'm looking here, Star Wars Skeleton Crew. The Christmas Eve episode was the episode where Jude Law's jaw basically turns on them.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a good show. I just don't know if any show should come out on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. I feel like even if, look, if you don't celebrate the holiday, right? Understandable. It's another day for you, right? I'll say that. But if you do celebrate the holiday, that's not your first priority. You're celebrating the holiday with family, friends, doing your own thing, and there's definitely people out there that were able to watch it that night, and there was, people that weren't. To me, if you're going to release something, release it where everyone can be available. But
I
I'm
did
not a TV executive. I don't make schedules. I'm definitely above my pay grade.
I did watch that night, but I don't think it was till like 11:30. I turned it on.
Right. I mean, unless like you're doing stuff like us, right? Like if you're a content creator for Star Wars, like I'm sure Kyle Katarn was watching that when it came out, right? Because
At least that night.
right, because Kyle's putting out stuff immediately like we try to do. And the same thing like I'm sure Obi-Wan Mamobi, right? He's probably doing something with memes or his reactions as well that night because he wants to be on top of it. But if you're not making content like we are on Star Wars, or if you're a casual fan and it's a holiday for you, I don't think you're watching this until a couple days later, which again is fine. You're in a streaming model. It's not like you're going to miss anything out on regular TV and you can't watch it ever, again, until it comes out like on a Blu-ray or something. So it's definitely like not detrimental, but I also just don't understand why they couldn't have delayed it.
Yeah, and I will also say thank you to Star Wars not having a live action show in the holiday season this year.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Well, we're happy. We'll have our visions in a few weeks. We'll rebuild the galaxy again. That's fine. Like we can like Skeleton Crew last year was a little rough trying to like do those pods around the holidays.
I was tired. That was definitely a mission
Yeah, to watch that show like on like around Christmas and New Year's.
for sure.
All right. So, anything else you want to say on this episode before we get to wrapping it up?
Nah, I mean this is from like back what 2019. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it.
Yeah, December 18th, 2019.
Yeah,
Runtime officially 37 minutes, according to this episode here. And a couple of interesting production notes on this here. Favreau basically wrote that IG-11 situation. Basically said he wanted to introduce them in the first episode as a ruthless and murderous droid, but reprogramming by Kuiil was basically designed to show that the droid itself is not good or bad, but it's only programmed that way, and it's part of its nature of a droid.
very K2SO
Yeah,
esque.
yeah. And I also add here that John Carlos Zio believed that his character Moff Gideon cannot be described as a good or bad character. Instead, as a man attempting to restore the order in the aftermath of the fall of the Empire.
Seasons 1 and 2, fantastic. Season 3, questionable decisions. Still love how that actor plays the role. I think it's still very great. So I cannot speak highly enough about Moff Gideon.
Yeah, season 1 and 2 definitely had a great arc of the character. Season three felt like it was like the song, like the act of the all along song. It was Gideon all along.
It gets a little wonky. I will say probably one of the coolest things ever was when Gideon shows up in like the mall Mandalorian armor.
Yeah.
That was really cool. The whole like I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. Well, actually, if you haven't seen it by now, it's like 5 years later since season two.
If you're,
Comes
well,
back from the dead to be in the to be
also,
in the
if you haven't seen this, why are you 37 minutes into a Mandalorian season one podcast?
right. I mean, it's also 5 years later or
Yep.
4 years later, whatever season two came out. For him to come back from the dead and we not know if he's like a clone or not is like we still have a lot of unanswered stuff, which maybe the movie will talk about. But Moff Gideon, fantastic character and played excellently.
And remember also, like for your season three people here, there were Gideon clones, so I don't necessarily think we're done with Giancarlo Esposito.
No, Giancarlo Esposito needs to be Moff Gideon for a long time if they could figure that out, because I think to have him just play in a couple seasons of The Mandalorian is going to be a disservice to his ability to play that role. Because I just think it's played so well. Like he plays a really good villain
Yeah, and not even that just clones, they're force sensitive clones.
in Darth Maul armor.
Yeah, so we did some crazy things in season three.
Crazy things. And remember, if you're watching Mando for the first time, you have to watch the last 3 episodes of Book of Boba Fett to understand what's happening in season three of Mando.
We'll talk about that in January or
Yes,
February.
we will.
All right, so let's save that discussion for probably early February, but we'll go to our MVP LVP board. The best and worst characters rated by us over the course of the season. These are through 6 episodes. Mando on top of the board at +7 after his clean sweep last week on the MVP board. Kuiil and Pelimato at +3 are +2 at the Cobra as a whole. +1s Paz Vizsla, Grogu, Cara Dune, O'Mara. Our -1s, Grief Karga, the Mythrol, IG-11 from his first appearance, the Walker pilot, Dave Filoni, thank you, Chris Persianen, Berg, Rand, the droids, and Team Rand, so that was all last week. Dr. Pershing, the Guild itself, and Toro Calican at -2, and the Jawas from episode 2.3 are at -4. I don't think anybody's gonna catch them, Pete.
I don't think so.
We'll
I don't
see.
think so.
So we're gonna go to our MVP board here. Nick is not there, so he did send his stuff in. So Pete, who's the MVP of the week?
For me, it's Kuiil. I think he was put in an impossible situation. I think that he did everything he could to protect the child, and he gives his life for it. So I'm going to give him the MVP.
I'm gonna give like Nick gave it to Cara Dune. He did not say why, but we'll ask him next week when he's back on the pod why he gave it to Cara Dune.
I want to know why. What the hell did she do in this episode? Except for complain about stormtroopers. Oh, I gotta ask him. I gotta ask him next week.
Yeah, we'll ask him next week why she's on the board here. I'm giving it to Moff Gideon. The dude came in and just basically
That's fair.
like he just wrecked shop as soon as he showed up.
That is fair. He's my honorable mention for sure.
Yeah, because like in top of that, he also knew that the Grief Mando Cara party was bluffing with the child. Like he had that information on lock.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, because like he's not messing around. Like he says you like and he fires the client lethally.
Very lethally.
All right.
Very.
Yep. All right. So I'm gonna go to the LVP side of the board. Nick is giving his to Mando. Does not say why. We'll ask him next week about that. So my LVP is going to Grief Karga because Grief did not have a plan on how to deal with the situation whatsoever. Like it is okay. I'm gonna double cross the Mandalorian. Oh wait, he brought people. Now what do I do? Oh wait, now I'm gonna screw my 2 guys over, and I could have used their help. And I'm gonna keep insisting there's only 4 stormtroopers there, even though I know there's like 9,000. Not well planned by Grief, so he gets the LVP from me. What about you?
He's an honorable mention. I'm going to say Cara Dune. I just felt like she was like the person with everyone else had a bad idea, but she had no ideas,
Yeah,
right? Like it was, I mean, look, don't get me wrong, super badass in the episode with the machine gun and helping out, but like all she did was complain and had no solution to the issue at all. Um, it adds to the episode and adds to the tension of the episode, but I have to give her the LVP.
I was surprised nobody gave it to Grogu for saving Grief Karga's life.
He did the right thing, though. Well, it's relative.
Yeah,
Trying to save someone, it's the good thing to do.
yeah. I just felt like Grief's poor planning, basically put them in a big hole this episode.
No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. Honorable mention for me as well.
All right, so now we're gonna grade this on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is worse than 978 Holiday Special. 10 is up there with the Prison Break episode and or for the pinnacle of live action Star Wars content. I'm giving this a 9. I'm very high on this episode. There are a few nitpicks in the writing. I feel like you can quibble on a few things, but great setup, great tension builder to get, and leaves you wanting to click the next episode me, which I think is the job of a show like this. So, Pete, where are you going?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same as you. Nitpicking some writing choices, I think it's a solid 9. It's a great episode. It pushes the story along. A lot of great tension involved, and also just a badass episode too. So, giving it a 9.
And Nick, the rare low man on the episode, he gave it an 8.
Wow. Usually I'm the low man on the totem pole when it comes to the scores.
Yeah.
My overcritical scores.
Yeah. So we'll ask Nick next week to explain all three of these things.
I'm very curious. I'm really, really curious, especially with Cara Dune being the MVP. That look, not judging it. He obviously has his reasoning, but I'm very curious to see what that reasoning is.
Yeah, absolutely here. And Nick will be back next week when we wrap up season 1 of our Mandalorian rewatch. We go to chapter 8 next week. We finish season 1 on a high note and we can see some fun stuff, the big fight, the big sacrifices, and of course, the debut of the dark saber in live action.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great one too. I remember it well.
Yeah. I still remember IG-11's sacrifice at the end of the episode. That was fantastic.
I just remember the dark saber. I gotta
Yeah,
be honest with you. That's the only thing I remember from it because it was so long ago. However, I do remember I enjoyed the hell out of that episode.
absolutely here. Pete, thanks again. People want to follow you on social media. How can I do that?
At Consy29 on Twitter, CONSY29, AP Tyler 308. Posted this background on Reddit, which I'm using today. Make sure you give them a follow.
Yep. You can also follow us on social media at Sky Guys Podcast on your favorite social media platforms. You can email us at skyguyspod@gmail.com if you want to send in some email feedback there. Also follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS 331. Visit over the Just on the Suffering podcast. NFL season is here, Pete. It's time to get ready for some football. Have some week 1 picks. Get you ready for football. All in.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the Jets get my hopes up and then mid-season just crash. It's gonna be great.
Pete, bold prediction. Are they beating Aaron Rodgers week 1?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah.
I think the Jets have a little chip on their shoulder when it comes to not say they didn't like Aaron Rodgers, but I think they want to prove themselves, be like, we didn't need you anyway, you know?
Yeah, I love the Jets this week. I think they're going to win
Is
week
he
1.
has he been marked as the starter?
He is starting in Pittsburgh.
Okay, so there you go. Goes to show how much I know right now preseason. So yeah, we're getting there. We're
Yeah,
getting there.
they're getting there. We'll be there on that podcast for that. We'll be back next week to wrap up season 1 of The Mandalorian's rewatch here. The Mandalorian Revisited. We'll be covering that next week. But until then, may the force be with you.